Once upon a time, in a quiet village by the edge of a deep green forest, there lived a little girl named Goldilocks. She was called that because of her beautiful golden hair that shimmered like sunlight. Goldilocks was a bright and curious girl who loved exploring nature, the flowers, the trees, and the tiny animals that lived among the leaves. One morning, when the sky was blue and the birds were singing sweetly, Goldilocks decided to take a walk in the forest. The air was cool and fresh, and the path beneath her feet was soft with fallen leaves. She walked deeper and deeper among the tall trees, enjoying the sound of the wind whispering through the branches. After some time, she realized she'd gone much farther than she'd ever been before. The forest grew quieter, and soon she came upon a small clearing. There, hidden among the trees, stood a little wooden cottage. Its windows sparkled in the sunlight, and smoke rose gently from the chimney. Goldilocks, full of curiosity, stepped closer. She knocked softly on the door, but no one answered. The house seemed peaceful and quiet. Goldilocks waited for a moment, then slowly pushed the door open. Inside, the cottage was warm and welcoming. Everything looked clean and well kept. On a table near the window, 3 bowls of porridge were placed. 1 large, 1 medium, and 1 small. The smell was delicious, and after her long walk, Goldilocks suddenly realized how hungry she was. She went closer to the table and looked at the bowls. The big one seemed to belong to someone large, the middle one to someone smaller, and the tiny one, perhaps, to a child. The golden porridge inside steamed gently. Goldilocks hesitated for a moment, then took a little taste from each bowl. One was too hot, another was too cold, but the smallest one was just perfect, warm and comforting. Without meaning to, she finished it all. Feeling full and sleepy, Goldilocks looked around the cozy room. Nearby, there were 3 chairs arranged neatly by the fire. One was very big and strong, one was softer and medium-sized, and one was small and cute. Goldilocks decided to rest for a moment. She tried sitting on the big chair first, but it was too hard and heavy. Then she sat on the middle one, but it was too soft, and she sank too deeply into it. Finally, she tried the smallest chair. It felt just right, comfortable and snug. She smiled and leaned back happily. But suddenly, with a loud crack, the little chair broke beneath her. Goldilocks jumped up in surprise. She felt sorry and hoped nobody would be angry. Now even more tired, she noticed a small staircase and decided to look upstairs. The bedroom was simple but cozy. There were 3 neatly made beds, 1 large, 1 medium, and 1 small. Goldilocks climbed onto the big bed first, but it was far too hard. She then tried the middle bed, but it was too soft and bouncy. Finally, she lay down on the smallest bed. It felt perfect, warm, gentle, and comfortable. Within moments, her eyes began to close, and soon she fell fast asleep. While Goldilocks slept peacefully, the owners of the house were walking back through the forest. They were a family of 3 bears: Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. The bears had gone out for a short walk while their porridge cooled, just as they did every morning. They were happy and calm, unaware that someone had entered their home. When they reached the cottage, Papa Bear opened the door. At once, he noticed that something was different. The air smelled strange, and things were slightly out of place. The bears went to the table and saw that their breakfast had been disturbed. The large bowl had been touched, the medium bowl had been moved, and the small bowl, well, it was completely empty. The bears were surprised. They looked around the room and soon saw that the chairs had also been used. The big chair was fine, the medium one was slightly wrinkled, and the small one had been broken into pieces. The bears were confused and a little worried. Someone had clearly been inside their home. Quietly, they walked upstairs. The room was still and peaceful. The large bed looked messy. The medium bed had its blanket folded strangely. And the smallest bed, oh, there was someone sleeping in it. There, under the soft blanket, lay a little girl with golden hair shining in the sunlight that came through the window. She looked calm and innocent, dreaming sweetly without knowing that 3 bears were standing around her bed. For a moment, the bears simply watched in surprise. Then, the sound of their footsteps must have reached her ears, because Goldilocks slowly began to wake up. She blinked, turned her head, and when she saw the 3 bears looking at her, her eyes went wide with shock. Frightened, she jumped out of the bed, ran down the stairs, and dashed out the door. Her feet carried her quickly through the forest path, past the tall trees and the rustling leaves. She didn't stop until she saw the familiar road that led to her own home. Once she was safely inside, she sat down and tried to calm her racing heart. Goldilocks thought about everything that had happened. She realized that she should never have gone into someone else's home without permission. It had been wrong to touch things that didn't belong to her, even if she hadn't meant any harm. From that day on, she promised herself to always respect others' belongings and to think carefully before acting out of curiosity. As for the 3 bears, they were kind and gentle. They didn't stay angry for long. They cleaned up the kitchen, fixed Baby Bear's chair, and made a new batch of porridge. Later that day, they sat together by the warm fire, happy to have their home peaceful again. The forest outside slowly grew quiet as the sun went down, and the soft golden light faded through the trees. Everything returned to normal, calm, safe, and full of the same gentle magic that always filled the forest. And so ends the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, a story about curiosity, mistakes, and learning to respect others. Sometimes our adventures teach us lessons that help us grow. And just like Goldilocks, we all learn, sooner or later, that kindness and respect are what make every story end happily. The end.